Hey, it's George Fourie. Welcome to the Martial Arts Media Business Podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 things that will get you to 300 students plus. And if you're already at 300 students, it will get you to 300 students and beyond. And if you're already there without these 3 things, it's a great opportunity for you to go back and dial them in and get better results for yourself. How do I know this? Well, dozens of our clients have dialed in these 3 things and it's skyrocketed their results. Some are at 300 students plus, and they are still just dialed into these 3 things. And instead of adding all the bells and whistles and fancy things and all the noise that you see on the internet, they're just going layers deep on these 3 things and getting great results. So I'm going to share with you what these 3 things are, and stick around to the end because I'll share with you a resource and a formula that you can use real quick. Will help you implement and optimize your first strategy, which I'll share in a minute, and help you skyrocket your results way quicker. All right, let's jump into the details. Okay, so 3 things that you need to get to 300 students and beyond. So am I oversimplifying this? You might be thinking, George, you're just oversimplifying this. Well, I probably am, right? Because it's a given. You can't do any of these things if you don't run epic classes. I think we've covered that. If this is your first time listening to me in this podcast, obviously you need some epic classes because otherwise no marketing in the world is going to fix that, right? But let's say you got that, and I assume you do, right? Because all great martial artists have run epic classes. Then here are 3 things that you can focus on to skyrocket your results. Now, before I go too deep into that, I want to tell you a little story. Every week, in our partners group, we have 2 to 3 coaching calls, and we get together with a bunch of school owners from around the globe, and we chat about marketing and optimizing results, helping school owners to work on the right next thing. Very important, the right next thing to get them to their next goal. And so I was chatting to one of our members, Lindsay Guy, and Lindsay has gotten great results in our program, and is just a phenomenal martial arts school owner, funny guy as well. And we were chatting about his results, and we were looking at optimizing his website and running Google ads and so forth. Now, Lindsay has just hit 300 students and beyond, and we're having this website conversation, and it really got me thinking, well, shouldn't we be having the fancy website first up? And I used to be the guy that used to say that, right? I used to be the guy that used to say, you need a website. You need a fancy website, and let's run Google ads and get results. And is it important? 100% it's important. Does it lift your brand? 100%. But the way social media has transformed, it's not my go-to recommendation anymore. And I used to be the web developer guy that told you that's the first thing that you need. But what I also found is that it can be very slow to get the traction going. It's great when it does, but it's a bit of a longer process. And if you haven't dialed in the other things that we're going to talk about, then it's going to impact you in the wrong way later down the line. As we've evolved and dived deep into our marketing, we've changed our frame on the things that you need. And by the way, this was hard for me to say as the guy that developed the websites, but I firmly believe it's true, and because the results speak for themselves, and it's way simpler than it might appear to be. Let me share what they are, and then I'll dive a bit deeper on how you can actually make these work. So number 1, you need an irresistible offer, an irresistible martial arts offer. Number 2 is you need to dial in your messaging, so a way to put that irresistible offer in front of people, like Facebook. And then number 3, a simple way to follow people up. That's it, right? Great offer in front of the right people and a simple way to follow them up to take prospects to their next step. And what is their next step? Well, the next step is getting on the mats, right? Booking them in and getting them on the mats. So how do these 3 things then work? Well, everything starts with your offer. The resource that I'll share with you and include in this episode, martialartsmedia.com/141, that'll take you to this episode. We've got this formula that we use for an irresistible offer. Now, we've spoken a lot about trials and paid trials. When it comes to Facebook marketing, paid trials just tend to work better. Paid trial is great because we're able to establish some value around it. And so we got a perfect formula with the right numbers, how you can structure the value, how you can generate the perceived value of your training by packaging it with a physical item. So that's the first thing that you really need, right? You need a great offer. Just copying someone's offer sounds like a great idea, but it gets you started. It might get you started, and our formula will get you started. Where I feel most school owners go wrong is not taking that offer and making it congruent with your sign-up process. So just looking and saying, oh, well, that school owner, they got thousands of students, we'll just copy their trial offer. Maybe a good idea, but maybe not, because maybe that offer was structured to reduce the lead flow because you don't want to get the wrong leads in, or you're in that type of demographic area that you want to avoid a certain culture in your club. And so you've priced accordingly. Or depending on how your sales strategy works on the back end, you want to price according to that. Different strategies work with different pricing, and so it's got to be congruent as well, right? But the resource we'll share with you will get you started and it will get you leads, right? That's the most important. All right. You need the irresistible offer. Number 2, a way to get this in front of people. Facebook ads, right? So a real simple Facebook ad strategy. We use the AIDA formula. We've got a 4-step formula. We call it the ultimate Facebook martial arts formula. It's basically a 4-step strategy to make your ads work. In short, it's attention, interest, desire, action. Like those are the short, that's the abbreviated thing for it. There's obviously details that go into that, but that ad strategy will work, right? And it works if you put that in front of people. We've obviously dialed in what type of headlines work, how you position the value, and then where you insert the offer, and then have a strict, simple call to action. And the call to action is just what is the simplest thing that someone can do to get hold of you. Do people like to pick up the phone? Not today. But if they just had to click a button that says send message, well, that's pretty simple, right? Everybody can do that. And so it kind of flies under the radar as well, because if somebody could just click send message, well, that's pretty cool. That helps because it's easy for them. But now you need a strategy to follow up. So we got a process we call the Student Signup Method, the Messenger Student Signup Method. And that helps you to establish value via Messenger, via text. And then you can start answering the objections and start working your way to booking them in. So it's a bit of a process that you follow. But instead of getting distracted with shiny bells and whistles and I need this fancy thing or that fancy thing, those are the 3 things that you need. And obviously with those 3 things, they're simple, but they're not always easy, right? So they're simple, but they're not always easy. With that comes a bit of finesse of mastering the strategies, right? Well, working on the offer, working on the messaging, and then working on the follow-up. And if you dial those 3 things in, and only those 3 things, you'll be surprised how far you can take your business without dialing in the fancy website, without doing all these little fancy tricks and fancy things, and just dial those things in. And when we say those things, it doesn't mean that you have to be the person doing it either. There's great strategies for you to outsource that and get people to do those things for you or work that within the team. That's it. That's it for today's episode. I hope that was useful. If you find that useful, wherever you're watching and listening to this, tag me on Facebook or share this with someone that gets some great value from this, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one. Cheers.